they've made quite a splash.
Yes, they have.
And they have made quite a rivalry with the Boston Celtics over the last few years, if you want to put it that way. But right now, this is the team to beat, I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, the Cleveland Cavaliers getting Shaquille O'Neal. I think it's definitely going to be an awesome rivalry. I'm going to watch every single game as they play them throughout the season next year. But just getting Shaquille O'Neal down low, he's one of the premier players in the NBA right now, pretty much.
Yeah,
I just want him on the line all the time.
Yeah, I mean, Shaquille O'Neal obviously isn't what he was 5, 6, 7 years ago, but he's still, because of the lack of real depth at center in the entire league, he's still one of the premier centers. I mean,
absolutely.
And he's one of the premier post-up players in the league even now.
Right.
Definitely.
With what he still is able to do, the caliber that he's at, he's still able to get the ball in the hoop.
Yeah.
For what age he is.
Not at the line, but when he's under it.
Oh, yeah, right. At the line,
Advantage the Cavs have.
I just love pointing that out there because, it's so funny seeing him shoot it,
Yeah, and the great advantage the Cavs have is they don't need to rely on Shaquille O'Neal. They have LeBron James. LeBron James is obviously the guy on that team.
Yeah.
He's the one they're counting on to score the points. He's really the one they're counting on to distribute the ball. Mo Williams is there.
Yeah.
He's really, in a lot of ways, offensively, the third guy. But, in the Eastern Conference, name a center that can push Shaquille O'Neal around in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Not
many.
Not many names don't.
Rasheed Wallace.
Rasheed Wallace, I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I was just thinking about it. It's been quite an off season for the Wallaces. Ben gets moved.
Ben Wallace,
Rasheed goes to another team. So
Wallace got traded to the
Suns. To the Suns with
Ben
Shaq.
Wallace makes me sad. He's one of those guys.
Yeah.
Once he left Detroit, it's fallen completely away. You
He
never heard
floats.
from him again.
He floats.
He's one of those guys. I think they expected a lot more out of him in Cleveland defensively, and never really got it.
Now, we have another few guys that are out there in that agency kind of stuff, and that's Turkoglu and Artest. Any ideas where these guys fall?
I heard Artest possibly to the Lakers, but I don't know if that's going to come through.
Well,
I don't
it seems
know.
like
I heard that
there.
too, but I don't know. I don't know if the Lakers. Well, maybe he's a big name.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they'd want him because they're already big premier players on their team.
True.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's more likely that Turkoglu is going to go back to Orlando.
I'm thinking that because we're seeing a lot of the deals get done now.
Yeah.
He's probably thinking, well, do I want to go to a losing team or go to a team that got there last year and just missed it? So I think if I were him in his shoes, I'd take it, even if it's a little discount.
And obviously,
you got to be a winner.
Well, but the other thing is the way the NBA often works is you can actually make more money going back to the team you were on because of the way the deals are structured and all that with the salary cap. So I think it's likely he'll head back to Orlando.
I think he wants to make a big splash there. From what he's been able to do this year, he'll make a big splash right now. But
We're that close.
I don't know. We'll see. So
Not that it's going to happen next year's season, but
Well, we
You're close.
But I mean, I'm
the
interested.
Tampa Bay Rays of last year.
They are, in some ways they were. They made it to the finals probably a year or two earlier than they expected to.
Yep.
But I like the fact that the Eastern Conference is kind of in a resurgence right now. We went through a lot of years where the Eastern you didn't care who the Eastern Conference champion was because they weren't going to win. You knew the Western Conference, because with the Lakers and the Spurs
Right.
and the Suns and the Mavericks and all these teams were just so and Sacramento for all those years. All these teams were so good, and the Eastern Conference was almost like the little leagues in comparison. I like to see that the Eastern Conference is coming back a little bit.
right now it's up the totem pole a little bit.
Yeah, up the totem pole, and you're looking at Boston and Cleveland and Orlando, and these are really the strongest teams in the NBA, along with the Lakers. Really the strongest teams in the league. So.
When we're talking about how bad the East was, all I can do is just laugh when the Celtics had. I think it was 2006 when they were like the last team to get in.
Yeah.
I think they had like a 4.44 winning percentage or something. They still got in.
I think it was 05.
Was it 05?
Yeah.
Like it was one of the years with Gary Payton.
Yeah,
It was a year after that. So it was sad, depressing. So
and I think of the year that our representative, the Eastern Conference representative, I think it was 2001 or 2002 to the finals was the New Jersey Nets. And you could just look at them and go, they don't have a chance against any of the teams in the playoffs in the Western Conference. You knew they couldn't beat them.
the Jason Kidd,
The
New Jersey Nets.
The Jason Kidd and Kmart was there, and
his years with the Nets.
Jefferson was there. I mean, they had some good players, but you just knew they weren't up to beating any of those.
I would say right now, Jason Kidd's best years were with the Nets.
behind.
Probably.
They're way
Absolutely,
behind,
they were his best years with the Nets, and
So anyway, I just like to see the resurgence of the Eastern Conference. And, I think the NBA is better off when the quality teams are spread out amongst both conferences rather than having them all in one conference.
It makes it more enjoyable to watch and a lot more fun for a season. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Our last piece of news in the NBA is about Antoine Walker.
I didn't hear about Antoine Walker.
Oh, you didn't hear about it?
Walker.
Antoine's taking donations. We'll just put it that way. So,
Well, he's probably out there shooting a three-pointer somewhere.
yeah. Let's just say that when you bet, you bet bad.
Antoine
Yeah.
Walker.
Yeah.
No, I know what it is.
So, yeah, they were talking on the radio on Sunday for WEI,
was away when
and they
this went
said,
down.
"So, do we bail Antoine out or no?" And they said, "No,
Absolutely
not
not.
that." So that's what happens when you bet your money and you
You lose.
You lose. You snooze, you lose,
I
so.
always wanted to like Antoine Walker and could never come around to actually doing it.
This is why. That's why. So,
You know. But
so
anyway,
we're gonna stay in the same TD. I don't think it's Bank North anymore.
I think it's the TD Bank Garden, right?
TD
Or is it
Bank
just
I think it's just TD Garden.
Garden, okay.
That's it.
And we're gonna go to our expert on the team that puts the puck in the net. It's the Boston
At
Bruins.
least we hope they put the puck in the net.
That's what we're hoping for
That's
this
what
year.
we're
If
hoping.
they don't trade that one guy, and that's who?
I don't know who you're talking.
Phil Kessel.
Yeah, Phil Kessel.
What's the story?
Hopefully, Phil Kessel is right now. He's on his last year of his contract, and they're still trying to figure out what they want to do with him. They're not sure if they want to keep him and David Krejci at the same time. They're not sure who would give them the best years and possibly could win them a cup. If I was the Bruins organization, I would try to keep them both, but as many people know, it doesn't happen.
To me, you talked about the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah.
The Bruins were kind of the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yes, they were.
of
They were
this
for a
last
little
half of the
while,
season.
right, yeah.
They really, in the first half of the season, rode Tim Thomas in the net and had enough offense because of that. But I think they progressed farther than anyone
Yeah.
really, in terms of at least their record in the conference, so in the regular season, progressed farther than anyone really expected them to. And I think they were shown for what they really were in the playoffs.
What Tim Thomas was able to do from going from different leagues from Europe to Germany and all those different places, he was able and to win the Vezina Trophy this year. See what he actually has.
Right.
I think he's obviously one of the greatest goalies for this year, being able to win the Vezina
won the trophy.
Yeah, he
I
won
thought
the
you were going to
trophy.
say greatest goalie of all time.
I remember Patrick Waugh might have something.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Ricky
I
Martin
understand
there. But
Be like,
he
save me,
does.
please.
He's up there from what he's been able to do, but it's going to give him some time though. But
We'll just put it this way: he's no Byron Defoe.
oh,
okay?
absolutely not.
Okay, we'll just put it that way.
Absolutely not.
But I just want to say, why would you want to trade a guy that is on paper supposed to average 45, 40 goals a season? That's your goal scorer. Why do you want to trade this guy?
Money situation.
But don't you want to give that money to a guy like that?
Yeah, you do in some ways, but you just don't know how many years he's actually going to be able to give it to you.
That's true.
You know?
It seems to me that it's kind of a grass is always greener on the other side of the fence kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, we have our guy who can score 40 goals, but that guy over there who can score 40 goals, he looks awesome. I think we want him.
Exactly.
And the guy you don't have always to you looks a little better than the guy you have.
Yeah.
You're going to drop the name, David Krejci. He's an underrated player.
Right.
And I think he'll be in a Bruins uniform for a good amount of years.
Hopefully.
I'm not sure about Phil Kessel, but I'd like to see him stay here because what he's been able to do. So we'll see. But
I only hope he stays because he's one of those guys that's fought cancer. He's come back. He's shown us what he can do, and he can produce. So you gotta tip your hockey stick to him and just wish him the best, because it's unfortunate that you have to go through these times where money's an issue with the league because they have the salary cap. So
I'm glad that Marco Sturm's going to be back to see what he's been able to do. We did miss him.
Forget about him.
We
They
did
forget about him.
We really truly missed him on the ice for the Bruins because we know what he's able to do.
Right.
He's able to score goals. He's offensively, defensively, he's good, and we missed that.
The only other piece you can say about the Bruins is with Kessel in particular is if they have a sense that they have someone in the minors who can take up that role. I don't know the system well enough to know if they do, but sometimes you'll see a team, especially with the salary cap now in the NHL,
Right.
will let go of that big player, that big money guy, because they say, okay, we're going to get 45 out of Phil Kessel, but we might get 30 out of this guy for a third the money.
They do have up-and-coming players from the prospects that they got out of the draft, but obviously, as you know, some of them might not be at the level that the Bruins are looking for. But hopefully, the people that have been with Providence, the players that have been with Providence, are able to get up to that level and hopefully wear a Bruins uniform and be able to produce like Phil Kessel, David Krejci, Marco Sturm.
My
whoever.
only hope is if the Bruins come back and have a decent season.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be as good as last season, but somewhere in that area, I think the interest in the